Hi, friend. Ashley here. Welcome to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. I'm here to guide you along your journey to unlocking your dreams to achieve the best life that you can imagine possible. From my journey in medicine as a PA and then some in the corporate world, I always still desired a little bit more out of life. It wasn't until I met some people who had seen their dreams realized that it occurred to me that maybe, just maybe, mine could come true too. Come along with me as we get to know some of these friends of mine and hear their stories of unlocking their dreams. Hi, friends. Welcome back this week to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. I am so excited to introduce you guys to a new friend of mine, Michelle Falco of andhale, and I am going to let her dive into her story, but just a little bit about her. She is a passionate advocate for mindfulness and self-care, which I know is going to come across to you guys really well in today's episode. She's dedicated to inspiring others on their healing journey. She spent 12 years in advertising and made a bold decision to pursue her true calling in social work and graduated from Columbia School of Social Work in 2022. Now she serves as a behavioral health case manager for Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she reaches out to individuals who are struggling. She helps them to connect to care, learn coping skills, and works on their personal goals. And this role has really allowed her to engage with clients in a special and unique way to help her foster those meaningful connections that help support their healing journey. And then on top of all that, she now has time to do andhale, and we have a lot more of her story to dive into. But Michelle, I'm just going to let you kind of jump in. We've had several people lately, kind of like yourself, who have done these amazing degrees and have these letters behind their name, and then also have this passion project as well. So tell us anything you want to share about your background and how you started your business.
Sure. Well, actually, I guess the idea came to me in 2020 when I had just met my husband at the time. He loved all the work that I was doing with mindfulness, yoga, spirituality, and like all the seminars I was going to. Like I was going to Omega Institute and then also Kripalu and just learning so many different things to help myself and better myself. And one of the main things that I found, especially when I was like in the thick of kind of my struggles, is that when I was actually in advertising, I didn't really have, like, when you were in the office or around other people, I didn't really have, it wasn't somewhere where I can go to be consoled if I was feeling anxious or distressed. And so I had to use my own tools. And one of the tools that I used was essential oil. And just like, I think you can probably think of them as sort of like a safety anchor. And so, like an object that you find that brings you back to your true self. And I found that with crystals and then also with essential oils. And so, I had been looking around at the time, and there really wasn't a lot of products out there that were sort of like the combining the two with the crystal roller and then also like the essential oil blend. So my husband and I were like, this is really interesting. Let's see what we can do here. And that's kind of how the idea of andhale came to about. But
That's,
yeah.
that's awesome. And where did the name come from?
So we were thinking about different names, but we were andhale is actually like inhale, exhale, and andhale. So it's basically like another part of the breathing, and that's sort of like mindfulness in itself, right? So we want to teach people skills to elevate their mindfulness game and just like remember to use mindfulness because so many times it's like remembering and forgetting. And that's sort of what I learned. Like every day I have to remind myself, like, I know these tools, I know what to do. Let's just make sure I have like I guess, prompt to get myself going on that right track. So yeah, so andhale has been really fun for us, and we have a lot of different. There's more products coming out, and then also like I'm trying to also do a lot of different workshops so we can teach people about mindfulness, the background, what it can do for you in terms of like your mental health. I mean, it can actually help with basically everything you can ever think of. If we're like conscious of what we're doing and we make way more better decisions and yeah, just a ton of different things that I found my life had been so much I feel like a totally different person than I was 10 years ago just because of mindfulness.
That's incredible. And it's so cool that you have your own story to relate to your clients and customers. And I'm sure 2020 was a big year where obviously there was a lot of the need for mindfulness across the world. But, we've seen such an uptick in anxiety and depression. And a lot younger age groups that are experiencing it and all that since 2020, that I imagine it's a really special place for you to use your clinical background, but also then connect it with people through a tool that you can share with people when maybe you can't necessarily be in the room with them. And that's really
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point because I found at times, like when I was struggling, I couldn't really reach out to other people because I didn't feel consolable by them. I wasn't able to take their support. And so I had to find it within myself, and by using things like essential oils and like crystals and that sort of thing, like bringing myself back to that place where I know it feels peaceful and I feel like my authentic self, then it got a lot less stressful in that moment. And it started, the distress tolerance skills are really something. I don't know if you've heard of dialectical behavioral therapy, but distress tolerance skills are one of the core components of dialectical behavioral therapy, which is an evidence based technique that's incredible. So many people with borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and it's actually helped with depression, anxiety. The skills are incredible, and everybody should be learning these skills. I mean, it should be a course that is, in my opinion, taught in like not I guess a little bit older than that, but probably like middle school, starting out, because we never learned like the skills on how to live our lives and how to kind of regulate our emotions and be present with people, and like having those like interpersonal skills, which is another component of dialectical behavioral therapy, is that interpersonal communication, making sure we're communicating correctly. And then also the mindfulness component, that's actually like the one of the core components. Everything stems off that for dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's really just like being in the right mind state. I think one of the greatest tools, or one of the greatest skills that's easy to like kind of connect back to for me, is called wise mind. And it's wise mind, which is basically an integration between your emotional and your logical mind. And so you want to have both components when you're making decisions or when you're talking to people, because sometimes when we're in our emotional mind, like when you're angry, you don't really want to send an email, right? You want to like you want to wait until you're feeling like you're a little bit more level. But then in the same time, in the logical rational side, we're not thinking about other people's emotions, right? Like we need to consider, we need to be empathetic in like our decision making. Like for instance, like sometimes I'll just be working so much, like either on the business or like in my current job, and then I'll kind of forget that like, oh wait, I have a family here and I need to also like, I need to give time to them. I know that probably sounds, but yeah, like those are the kind of things, like when you're in your logical mind, you don't really like, you have to bring that emotional component back in. So that was really cool for me too. And a lot of like another like way mindfulness is being practiced. It's being practiced in so many different ways, but it's, yeah, there's a lot of clinical practices with evidence that support that this is really helping people with their anxiety, with their depression, with borderline personality disorders. A lot of it has to do with like our thinking patterns and how we need to like, what's the word? Our thinking patterns and how we need to think better. I'm not saying that the best way, but basically we need to revise the way we're thinking. We're set up to think negatively because it's just a part of our evolution. It's part of this part in our brain that is protecting us from danger. And so that's why we automatically have these negative thoughts that always come up. And our job is to identify those and start to challenge them.
wow. Yeah, that's so powerful. There's so much good stuff in there. And you can tell that you have such a strong clinical background just with so many things that that are not just something that you picked up along the way. And
Yeah.
your background is you had the privilege of working at Zucker Hillside Hospital, which for those of you guys who don't know, it's a world-renowned behavioral health clinic. And she was able to contribute to the evidence-based care there, which you can completely hear through her background and just the mindfulness and the knowledge that you carry with yourself with such confidence. And there she was also able to participate in the Child and Family Institute. and which is associated again with an Ivy League institution where she focused on compassionate care for families and children. So when you are talking, obviously you're working with adults, I'm assuming, but do you also partner with kids, and do kids use your tools as well?
Yeah, I work with a lot of younger adults, adolescents. I think that's my favorite population to work with because when I look back on my life, I feel like that's the time where I felt the most alone and I didn't feel like I could really go to anybody for support. And so, yeah, I think these are wonderful. And I've heard such great feedback from a lot of the people that I know that I recommended to use the essential oil blends like andhale. And also, like, I also just reconnecting to a quote that means something to you. Like, that's also another. I have one of our pouches here, but for me, like, those were so meaningful. And especially, like, when I was like specific quotes, like this one from I don't know if you've ever read The Alchemist, but like, basically, like, if the story is he's looking for something, and of course it's within him the whole time, and it's in his heart, and it's basically exploring that and going in so many different directions, and then finding in the end like it's all been inside. And I think that's such a beautiful way to reconnect and a reminder. I mean, it's really important that we are authentic and that we connect to our heart center. And so quotes have been a really meaningful way for me to reconnect to my inner self. And so I've shared these quotes with a lot of adolescents and they found them really helpful to connect, especially, like a lot of adolescents also find it hard to be consoled by family and friends. And so like they do need to find it within themselves to get back to that place where they're, feeling better. Ultimately that's the end, like the end goal is to feel better and to feel stronger and to feel more confident because we all can do that if we put the work into it.
So true. What a good skill set to learn in that age too. And I love that that's something that they can throw in their bag for school or pencils or whatever they want to throw,
Yeah.
something that you can like tangibly have with you out on your desk throughout the day. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Just continuing to dive into all of your incredible experiences. So you've done a lot of conferences. You volunteered at Calvary Hospice and immersing yourself in the rich culture of Bali, which I feel like is very dichotomous, but I'm sure has some cool parallels between a hospice situation and then this like bright, rich culture of Bali. How
Mhm.
have those really shaped your understanding of wellness and the importance of mindfulness?
I think working at Calvary Hospice was a really enlightening experience, and I've heard about this from a lot of spiritual teachers, like to be around people that are transitioning to the end of their life. It's you can't recreate that like experience obviously, and so when they're in those moments they're just so vulnerable and they can see their lives in a totally different perspective that we'll never I don't know, we'll never be able to access. And so that's why it was so important for me to be around that, but not also be around that, but be around like the people that are losing their loved ones because that's one of the hardest things in the world. I mean, it's just awful the way that, yeah, I mean, life and death is a whole nother topic, but I lost my dad. He was actually in hospice and it was really, really hard. I actually wanted up volunteering prior to this, but yeah, just hearing people, I guess, reflect on their lives and like what was missing from their lives or like their regrets. And I think the most common answer is that they weren't living their truth. And that for me was so important. And I think the Bali experience sort of parallels to that because it was around the same time where actually I was recovering from an eating disorder. And so I was on this journey to feel better and like get to the root of what was causing like so much pain inside. And Bali opened up like so many different doors because I was able to tap into my spirituality, get to the root cause of like my suffering, which was ultimately like it leads to your core beliefs, like basically what you believe about yourself off like from the beginning. Like I've always thought I wasn't good enough. I can't do this, I can't do that. And it really manifests in your life in so many different ways. And so Bali was that like really, really special experience where I got to tap into my spiritual health and got down to the root of these core beliefs and we're able to kind of I guess, neutralize them. And that had been so powerful. And then at the same time, I was doing the Calvary hospice. So it was like part of my spiritual health journey, which was I think, the most important of all the components of, getting better, like between mental health, behavioral health, and social health, emotional health, physical health. I mean, spiritual health is so important. And I think that's like also another component people tend to, I guess, not dismiss, but the power of spirituality is so big.
So true. Yeah, we're one being, and there's so many parts of it that we get to heal together. I love how you've integrated those practices of gratitude and loving kindness and mindfulness really into, it seems like, your daily routines and your rituals, along with setting an intention through the law of attraction, which I think is also really powerful and something that I've seen in my own life for sure. I know that you believe that those practices are essential for fostering that positive mindset and emotional well being. How have you seen the law of attraction play out in your story?
I found it to be really fun. I loved to practice it because, like, it would be like an incentive for me. It's like, oh, if I'm thinking positively, then I'm going to get what I want, which is great. I mean, that's sort of like what I was thinking with the law of attraction. And again, you do have to take it with a grain of salt because we can't cancel out like negative feelings, so we can basically redirect ourselves in another direction that's maybe more neutral. And I think that's sort of what the law of attraction did for me. It really opened me up to um, like the next best feeling thought instead of going down a rabbit hole of like, today was awful, this happened, that happened, and then like, oh, my life is awful, that sort of a thing. So you really need to like have the strength and like the, I guess, awareness to tap into that and redirect your thoughts. And I found law of attraction to be really fun, and also just like it was really interesting to me, like hearing the teachings from like Abraham Hicks and from who else? Rhonda Burns, who's The Secret. She wrote The Secret. Gabby Bernstein, who I'm obsessed with. But yeah, I found it to be really fun. I still use it, and it's definitely helpful and helping like my thought processes and like my way of thinking.
That's really cool. And thank
Yeah.
you for sharing too about your eating disorder. And I love how it just shows that you can understand the struggles that many people face and the importance that compassion support really takes in the healing process. Now, when
hmm
you were in Bali, did you go on your own? Were you with a retreat? How did that play out in your story?
Yeah, I actually went by myself. It was I planned I like it was a yoga like experience. I guess it was technically a retreat, but I planned out different parts. So I wanted to do like I went to Ubud, and that part was like more of the spiritual component. I did Kundalini yoga, and then I traveled to other places in Bali, but that part was like the most special. And I went by myself, and I met so many awesome people there. I actually met someone that was like practicing the law of attraction, was like super into it and loved Abraham Hicks, and we were both like, "Oh my god, this is great. Like this is so much fun." Because Abraham Hicks was like, her whole thing is like, what does she say? It's getting better and better and better. It's always getting better. It's always getting better. I'm doing the best. I'm doing the best. And I don't know, this person that I met there, Anne Marie, she was like on the same sort of wavelength, which was really, really cool because we got to experience Bali, and then also we're in the same place, same frequency. And I was like, this is the law of attraction all coming together. But it was so much fun. I still keep in touch with her. She actually lives in Hawaii. But yeah, it was really, really special, and connecting with people I would have never met and never really come, like, obviously wouldn't have met like someone from Hawaii. But since we both have the same interests and we both practice the law of attraction, that's sort of what brings us together. And so I also like that it's kind of seems like an abstract sort of like, I think a lot of people are like, I'm not sure, I'm not really explaining this well, but a lot of people don't believe in it. But when things like that happen, that's sort of like, well, I mean, that's kind of awesome. Like that really, like that happening is really in itself like an example of the law of attraction. Like we put these energies out, and we're going to attract the same energies.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And I agree. I feel like when I first started kind of learning about it, it was like, well, this seems crazy, or maybe it's coincidence. But once you experience it a few times, you're just like, there. I mean, it's kind of undeniable. It's pretty cool.
Exactly. And I also think I always like to challenge my thoughts. And I think that's become common just working in like clinical practices, but I'm always like, well, what do I know? How do I know that this isn't real? I mean, like I'm just a being on earth. I mean, and this world around me is like it's been created by what? I mean, I have no idea. My mind can't fathom that. And so who am I to say that like there isn't a higher like someone higher than me, like a higher spirit or something like that. That's sort of like where I'm at in terms of like my religious beliefs. I'm just sort of like, I guess I'm like a skeptic. I think that was really helpful for me and like also believing like my dad went to a better place.
So pivoting a little bit, talking about you co-founded your business with your husband, which is special, and I think a really special place to be in the entrepreneur space. So what Andhale does is, you create essential oil blends. So, and I love that you call them gem oils, and you have.
Yeah. I actually have them with me right now.
Tell us a little bit about the gem oils, and I know for the
Yeah.
people who are watching on video, you got to see the pouch already, which is also.
Yeah. So this is the calm blend and it has a lapis crystal and this lapis crystal like promotes tranquility and peace. And then the blend is lavender and chamomile. Oh my God, these are my two favorites. And the blend all together just smells so soothing and good. I put it on all the time whenever I'm feeling anxious and then I put it on at night. I put it on my pulse points. I like just put it everywhere. Like I usually put it here because I feel like this is like a stress center for me, and then like right here, and then behind my ear, and then I always have it with me. And when I'm feeling stressed anywhere, I can use this. Like it's like my little Xanax. And then the other blend is called Open, and I think this was really powerful for me at the time because when I was going to Bali, and then when I was also going like volunteering at for hospice, like I was like a lonely single person in Long Island. I'm on Long Island now, but I was in New York City, and like so many other people are as well. And I was like, what do I have to do to like find my person? Like this is crazy. And I found that like spiritual practices and like opening up my heart center and like becoming more in love with myself. And I know that's cliches, but cliches are cliches for a reason. So it was really just like super empowering to know that we have this heart center that's like way more powerful than our actual like brain. And then, so like for me, that was so enchanting and like fun. And so like I found that like rose quartz and like using those sort of things to manifest the love that I want and the love of my life, which I met my husband like a year or so after doing all of these things. I mean, my practices have built up over the years. It wasn't like I just started like, but anyway, it got bigger and better. And so this blend has jasmine and sandalwood, and those are like jasmine's like an aphrodisiac, so it has a warming sensation. So when you put this on your chest, you feel that warming vibe, and then it feels like you can open yourself to the possibilities of love because a lot of it is like we've closed ourselves off. And I see some people still struggling with this. And I find it like, I don't know, it's very frustrating for me to see that in others. Like I want to help them. So this is why like the open blend was really important for me as well in helping others like kind of like get back into their true roots and like find themselves and then, find that person because having a companion is important. I mean, I know people have there's different ideas of what life can look like, and if that's not your thing, of course that's not your thing. But I know a lot of people are lonely and they want to find somebody, and I think the blockage is that we're not really finding the love in ourselves.
Yeah, wow, that's too powerful, especially coming off of Valentine's Day as we're recording this. I think it probably resonates
Yeah.
with a lot of people in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me a while to learn that though. I mean, I was doing a lot of dysfunctional things before that. And then I finally was like, nothing I'm doing right now is working. So let's figure out a different way. So it was always like a science experiment for me.
So interesting. I'm sure you're not alone in that at all.
Yeah.
So I know some of your pillars with Andhale are you believe that self-care requires compassion, grace, and accountability. And you guys are committed to give back through Project Heal. Tell us a little bit about how you donate to that and what that looks like with your business.
So yeah, the Project Heal is a new I used to use Project Heal because and it's an eating disorder organization that helps people that don't have, well, basically it's a support system in New York City. So I went to groups there. So they have support for people and you didn't have to pay. So this is all like nonprofit and also like it's free, which was so important because there were so many barriers with getting eating disorder treatment. There are a lot of financial barriers, and so it opened access for people. And me at the time, I used it as a really, I mean, it was really powerful to be around other people that were struggling and like trying to get through it at the same time. And I found it to be like such a special like place that helped me so much. And I was like, if I want to give back to somewhere, this is where I want to give back because I think people have been on similar journeys to me with the eating disorder, and I know how lonely it can be. So Project Heal really has so many different components that help people that are struggling. And they're able to they do a lot of research, and they're also able to help people pay for their own treatment, which is amazing. Um, and they're huge advocates of like eating disorders and like body positivity and just like being healthy, being in your healthy self, right? That's kind of like what I always thought of it as, like being in your healthy self versus like your not healthy self. And so the organization still exists and still doing really, really well. They put out really great ideas and content and tons of different stuff for our help. I don't know if you've looked at their website and then also their page on Instagram. But I was like, this is so perfect. It perfectly aligns with my whole mission to give back. And so yeah. And so yeah, I partnered, not partnered with them, but like we're giving 10% of our profits to them. And yeah, so it's been really exciting and I'm excited about that and the future it holds because we just actually partnered with, well, not partnered, I guess, collaborated, and we started that like probably in December. So it's been pretty new, a couple months.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a cool time to start it at the end of the year like that with the holidays and then to see what this year will unfold for your collaboration. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share as part of your story? Obviously, I want to share where people can get in touch with you, but you've shared so much throughout this episode that I just am really grateful to get to share it with people.
Yeah. I guess like the main takeaway for mindfulness and for me and all of these skills that I've learned and I think about is just like we're just starting like from 101, starting and beginning again every day because that's what really truly worked for me, and I think it could really be applicable to everybody. So I think just taking that message, like starting again every day, has been super impactful and powerful. And I hope that it helps somebody that's struggling right now.
That's awesome. What a cool mantra. That seems like so bite sized. Sometimes I think we see such a big,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you woke up. If it's like, maybe you start with like the next minute, the next hour, maybe you got to work up to the whole day. But I mean, there's such a small little piece you can take it one at a time.
Yeah. And that's sort of like the 12 steps where they say like one day at a time. And I think it's hard for us to like visualize that. And I think, yes, I like that you said that it's bite size. That's cool. Cool way to put it. A neat way to put it.
And how can listeners get connected with you, get gym oils, get the quotes on their pouches, all the things?
Yeah. So right now we have the four different quotes. So we have the alchemist, we have the loving kindness quote, which is may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be open, may you be loved. So the loving kindness meta meditation, that's a type of meditation. And so that saying is so important to me. And then also the Rumi quote, as you start to walk, the path appears. Like that one is so powerful. Like you just have to keep going. And then the starting each day with a grateful heart. And that for me was so important. Tapping into gratitude is just, and Gabby Bernstein talks about it all the time. It's just like the quickest way to feel better is to tap into your gratitude, like what you're grateful for. Those are the quotes that are on the pouches. And then you can get them from us. We have them on our website, so andhale. And it's easy to find them on my Instagram page, which is at andhaleco. And then I'm also posting like a lot of different techniques for people to use to practice mindfulness and to use DBT skills or CBT skills, because this information should be available to people for free. So that's important to us as well, is make sure that we're giving people the education and the tools that they need to succeed.
That's incredible. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And you guys who have been longtime listeners, and we have another eating disorder episode early on with Kate Henley. So please share this with people. If it's for you, awesome. But if it's also for the people in your life, just share this episode with them, and hopefully they can get in touch with Michelle too with whatever they need. But what a great place to find on Instagram to find tools that you can connect with you and just learn more than just a physical product, but also tools to help people calm and just relax and be more mindful throughout the day. Because like you said, it's just the little moments that really add up that can be big, big changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if anyone is interested to ever talk to somebody, I'm always open to talking to someone, especially someone that's struggling. If they need someone to talk to, they can reach out to me through my Instagram. I'm always open to help, and I want to. It's my passion.
It shows. Yeah, you're definitely someone that wants to give back with your story. It definitely shows. Hopefully, if you guys are not watching the video, you should pop on and see Michelle. You can definitely see that she has a huge passion for what she's talking about, and obviously a very strong background in it with a lot of confidence. So, well, thank you so much, Michelle. This
Thank
has
you.
been truly a gift. I'm so excited to share this with people and see just the ripple effect of who it takes hold with. But again, thank you for being on. I'm so excited to share your story.
Well, thank you so much, and it's so great to meet you. I heard such awesome things from my friend Danielle that connected us.
Yes, you guys go
Yes.
listen to Danielle on from Mother
What?
had a big year this year too. So go listen to Danielle's episode.
Yeah.
Okay, friend, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Feel free to share this podcast with another friend who it may inspire. Leave a review to possibly be featured at the beginning of another episode, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the stories that could help unlock your dream for you.